Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us. I'm Brittany with Forward Justice, and I'm here today with friends from voting rights organizations across our state. Yesterday marked 100 days until November 3rd. 100 days until our midterm elections, when voters across North Carolina will head to the polls to make their voices heard. Today, our legislature is back in session, and the bills that we've seen coming from them recently, like House Bill 958, have been more focused on silencing and shutting out voters than protecting our sacred and constitutional right to have a say in how we're governed. And we stand here today to say, not on our watch.
Not on our watch.
These friends and coalition partners are prepared to inform, mobilize, and advocate for voters across North Carolina's 100 counties over the next 100 days and beyond, to ensure that every eligible voter feels safe and empowered to cast their ballot. We know that voting is an important tool that we use to address the issues that matter most, and lawmakers have been working overtime to try and take that tool away, especially from Black and brown voters, poor and rural voters, and student voters. And that's why we'll be working overtime to ensure that folks have access to every available resource they need to vote in November. We're going to hear this morning from our friends at the North Carolina Black Alliance, North Carolina Asian Americans Together, North Carolina NAACP, Common Cause North Carolina, Forward Justice, and Democracy North Carolina about the ways that we're coming together to protect voters, even when our lawmakers are dead set on doing the opposite. And so with that, I'll turn it over to my brother Marcus with North Carolina Black Alliance to get us started.
All right, Marcus.
All right. Thank you very much, Brittany, and thank each and every single one of you all for being here as we mark the 100-day countdown to this 2026 midterm election. My name is Marcus Bass. I serve as the Executive Director of the North Carolina Black Alliance. I'm proud to be one of the many organizations that have been watching what is happening in this building behind me every single day of this session. As we've gone 1,000+ days without a budget, as we've gone tens of years without health care, access to education, now they are trying to continue to dismantle our right to vote. And we think it's important to mark this 100 days as we continue to commit to educating voters, making sure the citizenry is prepared for what is going to take place and what is going to be the largest midterm election in our history. The stakes have never been higher. And the facts of the matter is this: House Bill 958, which is one of the many pieces of legislation that is causing or will cause harm once passed in this building, is a clear example of why it's important for us to be here today. The individuals behind us in this building are elected to represent the will of the constituents. And they will make you believe that the Republicans and the Democrats are going back and forth around partisanship. But the implications of House Bill 958 and the actions that are happening in this General Assembly are far greater than Democrat and Republican. In North Carolina, the independent voters represent the largest block of voters in this state. What that means is that the actions that the General Assembly are taking right now are going to undermine not just Democrats in 2026, but each and every single voter, and more particularly the individuals that are not registered Democrat or Republican. The partisan power grabs are not helping the residents of North Carolina. It's not expanding the vote. And in a moment where we should be making sure that every citizen has the right to vote, we are here in this 100-day mark to make sure that regardless of what happens in this building behind me, whatever legislative policy, whatever legislative violence they try to enact, whatever collusion they try to conspire, and especially with what we're seeing at the Board of Elections at a state level, David Bolick has an office that is run amok, that is causing fear in election spaces across the state. All 100 counties and all 100 boards are calling in or being called into by David Bolick and other operatives to go to extreme measures to further limit the right to vote. So when we see the Board of Elections operating against the will of the people, when we see the legislature operating against the will of the people, and even our courts operating against the will of the people, we are here, the organizations in solidarity over this 100 days to make sure that each and every single voter in all of our 100 counties is knowledgeable, is protected, and understand that we the people will have the final say. It gives me great pleasure to stand here, not just as the leader of the North Carolina Black Alliance, but as a resident in North Carolina, as a concerned voter and an individual that's going to make sure We're not just standing here today, but we're standing with the voters every single day of this 100 days and beyond until every vote is counted, that is cast, and every single voter has a right to determine who is elected in this building behind me. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you, Marcus. Yes.
Good morning. I'm Shruti Parikh, Director of Education and Political Engagement at North Carolina Asian Americans Together, also known as NCAT. Today we mark 100 days until Election Day. For many people, that's just a date on the calendar. But for organizations like NCAT and our partners, our work to protect voters is already underway. I want to share a story that reminds me why this work matters. During the last election, our voter hotline received a call from a Korean-speaking voter who wanted to request a mail ballot, but was having difficulty navigating the process. They weren't asking who to vote for. They simply wanted to make sure they could cast a ballot. Because we had a Korean-speaking staff member on our team, we were able to connect them with someone they could communicate with in their native language. Our staff walked them through their options and ultimately helped ensure they were able to vote. And that is what election protection looks like.
That's right.
It's not about politics. It's about making sure every eligible voter can exercise one of the most fundamental rights in our democracy. Unfortunately, that work has become more important than ever. Over the past decade, North Carolina has seen a steady stream of laws and policies that make voting more complicated. From ID requirements to the closure of campus polling places, we've watched barriers continue to grow. Now we're seeing proposed changes from the State Board of Elections around party to the polls provisions and absentee ballot procedures. NCAT and our partners filed public comments on both of these proposed rules. They may seem like technical details, but when the rules governing how loud someone can be at a polling place change, or when the process for returning and requesting an absentee ballot shifts, there's a moment where a voter can lose confidence in their ability to participate. And when that happens, it isn't experienced equally. It's first-time voters, naturalized citizens, seniors, voters with disabilities, rural voters, Black and brown voters, and voters with limited English proficiency who are most likely to be left behind. Asian Americans are the fastest growing population in North Carolina. Our communities include immigrants, refugees, young voters, senior voters, and families who speak dozens of different languages. Many are voting for the first time. Many are still learning how our election system works. They deserve an election system that welcomes their participation, not one that makes them wonder will they be able to successfully cast a ballot. In 2024, we saw another kind of barrier. Individuals from outside North Carolina came to polling sites, shouting at Asian voters in language, trying to tell them how to vote. It was intimidation, plain and simple. NCAT responded by expanding our presence at those polling sites so that every voter could feel safe casting their ballot. And that's why election protection matters. Over the next 100 days, NCAT and our partners will provide trusted voter education and election resources in up to 21 languages. We'll answer questions through our voter hotline, train voter protectors and poll observers, help combat misinformation, and work alongside coalition partners to ensure voters across all 100 counties can cast their ballots free from intimidation, confusion, or unnecessary barriers. We can't control every rule that's adopted, but we can make sure voters know their rights, understand the process, and have someone they can trust when they need help. The Korean-speaking voter who called us last election shouldn't have to wonder whether election will keep them from voting. No voter should wonder whether they understand the rules well enough to participate.
That's right.
100 days from now, North Carolina will decide the future of our state. Our job between now and then is to make sure every eligible voter has the opportunity to make their voice heard. Thank you.
Yes.
All right, good morning to you. I'm Irving Joyner, and I'm speaking on behalf of the North Carolina NAACP as the Legal Redress Chair. of that organization. North Carolina NAACP began in North Carolina in the 1940s during the Jim Crow era, where many of our members fought for the right to vote and supported the passage of the 1965 Voting Rights Act.
That's right.
We are able to talk about the differences in voting for people who are deemed to be second-class citizens and those who are enjoying the protection of the Constitution, which guarantees them the right to vote. And as a member of the NAACP, having lived during those days, I can testify to the harm that was suffered
Yes.
by African Americans and people of color in this state as a result of official activity and statutes imposed by the government here in this state. After the 1965 Voting Rights Act passed, there was an upsurge in the right and the participation of African Americans and other racial minorities to vote. Today, we look at slippage as deliberate laws are being passed that mimic those laws that were in place during the Jim Crow era. These laws are intended for the purpose of disenfranchising lawful citizens in this state who have the right to vote, but people who are in power don't want them to vote. And this is a calculated campaign. And as the North Carolina NAACP, we stand forward to fight against that because we declare that we will not go back
Yes.
to the way that
Yes.
it used to be.
Yes.
And the way that it used to be was one where the Constitution of this state and the Constitution of the United States were blatantly disregarded and omitted from protections of the law. And it is our sense and our practice today that that will not happen. So over the next 100 days, as we move forward, we will be aggressive in one, registering people to make sure that they are in a position to vote, then re-registering or confirming the registration of those people who think that they are registered to vote, and then to ensure that they all get to the polls and that they are able to vote without restrictions and without harassment, and then engage in a mighty effort to ensure that those votes are counted 100% as voted by the citizens of this state. So that is the goal of the North Carolina NAACP. Working with our partners, we will ensure that those things don't occur because our lives and our futures are dependent upon that.
Yes. Thank you. Oh, yeah.
Thank you so much. My name is Kima. I'm a community organizer and youth organizer based in Guilford County, born and raised in Greensboro, North Carolina. And I'm also a proud member of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, where we believe that a voteless people is a hopeless people. And that's what a lot of the people in the State Board of Elections, as well as the County Board of Elections, want to do. They want to take away our hope. Just this week on Tuesday, we saw in Guilford County how the Board of Elections voted to take away the polling sites for UNCG and A&T that were applied in 2024, not in 22, but in 24, while agreeing to add another site, Stokesdale, in Northwest Guilford County that was not in 2022, that had the fewest turnout, the least amount of turnout in 2024. So right there with that exchange, we already know it's not about numbers. It's not about utilization, and it's not about that we don't have the infrastructure. They just know that if they give access to young people in Guilford County, if they give access to East Greensboro, they know that young people and people of East Greensboro are not going to co-sign their anti-democratic agenda. And they can't stand that. So they're doing everything in their power. And it's these little things, it's something here, it's something here, it's something there. Just enough to eke by in the court of law. But we know that it's anti-democratic, and we know that it's there and it's designed to stifle voices. And we can't have that. So over these next 100 days, just as colleagues here have said, we're going to be focused on registering folks to vote and making sure their registration is correct, active, and up to date. I was just in LaBauer Park and City Park the other day registering folks to vote. That's what we need to do on the ground. And we're going to make sure that they know that we have a plethora of resources there in any event that there is any problem with their ballot, in any event there is a problem with their registration. If they need a rise to the DMV to get valid IDs, we can do that as well. This is a continuum of care that we have, and we're not going to take no for an answer there. You know, they have a Union Square location in my county. They called it the compromise location. That is 38-minute walk one way from E&T and 31-minute walk one way from UNCG. Not a good compromise to me, right? But we're going to show up and we're going to show out regardless. We're working with community partners to do a walk to the polls, to do shuttle services, right? And we're going to go ahead and have our voice heard regardless, even if they have that noise complaint ordinance that they were talking about, that hopefully it gets disbanded. We're going to make sure that we still show out and have our voices heard, because this is what democracy looks like.
Yes, yes.
Hi, everyone. I'm Kat Robles, Senior Voting Rights Counsel and Litigation Manager at Forward Justice. I know Irv gave us a lot of the history, so I want to talk a little bit about the recent history and kind of how we got here, which is that before 2013, you had to actually pre-clear when you were changing your voting laws. You had to make sure that your voting laws were not discriminatory. But after the Supreme Court decided that we were not going to have pre-clearance anymore, which was a huge part of the Voting Rights Act, we landed where we've been for the last 13 years, which is that our General Assembly has been continuously trying to pass every law they can to make it harder to vote and requiring our groups to then challenge those laws by coming to the legislature, by filing litigation. And we are doing that and we're continuing to do that. But I do just want to name that what you might hear is that we need this, or our election integrity needs this. Aren't you worried about our elections? And I would ask you, show me the numbers.
That's right.
You said we needed voter ID because of in-person voter fraud. Look at any report you can. I'm happy to go over them with you. Our own state board has put out reports. People simply don't do this. It is a statistical zero. And I also want to talk, for me personally, the idea that non-citizen voting is happening, it's frankly offensive, and I want you to think about whether anyone would commit that crime. As a descendant of Mexican immigrants, thinking that someone is going to risk their citizenship to vote for one person, for one vote, it makes no sense. It is not a crime that people are knowingly committing, and the statistics show that. So I just want to name this idea of election integrity. It is not a problem we have. What's happening instead is all of these cuts are hitting Black and brown voters, young voters. They are the ones who statistically do not have the IDs required for voting, and it is the hardest for them to get the IDs for voting and to overcome these barriers like changing polling sites, cutting Sunday voting. So I do want to talk about what we can do, because that is what we're here for. You know, in our coalition, what are we doing? What can we do? Just to talk to the average voter 100 days out, I want you to think about what you can do, and if you've already done these things, who can you help that maybe doesn't have the same resources to do these things? Number one is checking your registration. Go online, put in NC voter lookup. You will come to a page from the State Board of Elections. You can put in your name, and you might say, I don't need to do that. I'm already registered. Check anyway. Is the address correct? And if it's not, maybe do it now instead of right on the election. So update your address. And maybe if you have someone in your life who doesn't have access to the internet, is not able to do that, check it for them. Call up your grandma and say, I noticed that your registration's inactive. Can I help you refresh that? So please make sure you're checking your registration. As things are getting closer, you know what your polling sites are. We just heard that they are changing them. We cannot always guarantee that you can go to the same place and it will be the same voting site. And once you get to the election, please call our hotline if you have a problem. 888-OUR-VOTE is Democracy NC's hotline. Work with everyone in this coalition on that. And Forward Justice also takes every call that comes in about voter intimidation, which I know NCAT talked about. So if you were at the polls and you were facing some kind of intimidation, whether it's about an allegation that they think you're not a citizen or you don't have an ID or just intimidating language, any of that, please call us. But you can also call for anything. You can't figure out if you're registered, you can't figure out where your polling site is, Please call during early voting because that's the time when you can fix things. There is same-day registration. So they are trying really hard to make sure that we can't vote, but we will. So just help out the people in your life that need it. We've got almost 100 days here, so we've got the time now to make sure that the power is in the people, and we will all be voting in November.
Thank you, Pat.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
My name is Tyler Day. I work with Common Cause North Carolina. I want to talk about county boards of elections. Our county boards of elections work very hard year-round to win elections in our state. And over the past several election cycles, our organizations have come together to monitor the elections process at the county level through County Board of Elections monitoring. And this includes advocating for adequate elections funding and for robust and accessible early voting plans. It also includes monitoring county boards during the pre- and post-election process to ensure all eligible voters' ballots get counted. Provisional ballots are cast by voters whose voting eligibility is in question. Due to recent election law changes, there could be more provisional ballots this year than in the past. For example, the State Board of Elections has implemented a registration repair program that requires voters who haven't provided their driver's license number or the last 4 digits of their Social Security number to vote a provisional ballot. And Senate Bill 382, which passed after the 2024 elections, severely limits the time for county boards of elections to conduct research, contact voters, and for voters to fix issues with their provisional and mail ballots. In the 2024 election, voters had 9 days after Election Day to fix provisional ballot issues. And this may include a voter who needs to cure their absentee ballot or a voter who didn't show their ID and needs to provide it to the Board of Elections. This year, due to Senate Bill 382, voters just have 2.5 days
It's shameful.
to fix any provisional or absentee ballots. And in the 2024 election, the county boards had 10 days to review and count provisional and absentee ballots. County boards just have 3 days now to review and count these ballots. And this year, this 2026 general midterm election will be the biggest election yet under these changes. The election includes a highly contested U.S. Senate race and a highly contested U.S. Supreme Court race. And many county board of elections directors across the state have said that they just don't have enough time and that this could put a significant strain on their staffs. Several county boards of elections, including Alamance, Buncombe, Cabarrus, Granville, Rowan, Shawan, Graham, Rutherford, and Chatham have all sent letters to members of the state legislature expressing the need for more time to count these ballots. Unfortunately, the state legislature has been unresponsive. Monitoring county boards of elections helps us identify problems with the process and advocate for better elections policies and voting access, including meaningful legislation that can help make a difference for voters. In 2024, our coalition of organizations worked together to recruit and train over 100 advocates in 81 counties to monitor county boards of elections canvass and pre-canvass meetings. I'm hoping we can get to even more counties this year, but you can go to ccnc.me/electionshub to learn more about how to monitor county boards of elections and volunteer with us. I also want to mention next month that the State Board of Elections will review non-unanimous early voting plans. And we've seen, as has been mentioned before, that there have been cuts to critical early voting sites and hours. Campus sites are being targeted. Earlier this year, Jackson County Board of Elections member Jay Pavey said he faced, quote, pressure from Raleigh
That's
to
right.
vote against a site at Western Carolina University. He said, and I quote, "I've been told that if I don't vote a particular way, that they will do whatever they have to do to remove me from the board."
Saying the quiet part out loud.
Pavey though, voted anyway for the Western Carolina site, and that plan was non-unanimous, so that goes to the State Board of Elections. I want to also mention Granville County, where a majority of the board voted to cut the two most popular early voting sites in the county. And not only that, they rejected funding from the county commissioners for an additional early voting site. Common Cause, North Carolina, and our partners will do everything we can to advocate for the most expansive early voting plans as these plans go to the State Board of Elections. And I would encourage voters in any counties with non-unanimous plans to advocate and email the State Board of Elections members. I'll also mention many county boards of elections need additional poll workers. If you're interested or know others who are interested that could serve, please contact your county board of elections. And I'll also mention that Common Cause and our election protection partners will be providing nonpartisan voter education and volunteer opportunities around the state. These include trainings and resources. And if you're interested in that, you can go to ccnc.me/ready. ccnc.me/ready. We want to do all we can to increase voter turnout and ensure all eligible voters get their ballots counted.
Yes.
Democracy only works when we, the people, make it work. So please join us.
Thank you, Tyler.
Good morning. My name is Brian Kennedy. I'm the Policy Director with Democracy North Carolina, and I'm honored to stand here today with my colleagues behind us, talking about not only the threats that face us, but the opportunities in front of us. We know that democracy dies in the dark. And if it were up to the folk, a lot of the folk in the building behind us, as well as in the State Board of Elections office, then a lot of these rule changes, a lot of the things that are being done to disenfranchise voters would be done in the darkness. But we are here today to shine light on what is being done in the dark. As Professor Joyner has already mentioned, the efforts to disenfranchise Black and brown voters, to disenfranchise women voters, to disenfranchise voters with disabilities is not new. Since the formation of this country, we have fought to expand democracy. We have never had a full and fully functioning democracy. As my colleague Caitlin has said before, we are not fighting for the democracy of yesterday. We're not fighting for the democracy of today. We are here with our partners and calling on the people of North Carolina to build a democracy for tomorrow.
That's right.
Okay? We have watched the state board and individuals in the building behind me attempt to make our elections partisan. We've watched them attempt to change the rules in ways that folk can barely understand. We've watched them to take actions in order to make it more difficult for folk to register, make it more confusing for people to cast their ballots, and oftentimes making it quite impossible for folk to fix issues that they might have had with the ballots in the first place. And while there's plenty of bad news, there's plenty of good news too. Zora Neale Hurston, a great writer, said, "Democracy is like manna. It must be collected fresh every single day." And I'm here to tell you that the people behind us, as well as people across the state, are working every day to collect democracy fresh every day. While it might feel like we are taking some L's, let me tell you something. We are winning, folk. Okay? The people are motivated. Not only have we fought back bad bills in this building behind us just these past couple of months, we have been in every single county taking a look and keeping an eye on what is going on. Okay? So over the next 100 days and beyond, we will be watching. We will be monitoring not only what's happening in the General Assembly behind me, but what is happening at the local level, at county boards.
Yes.
We'll be watching what is happening at the state board. We'll be keeping an eye and shining a light on everything that is happening in regards to our democracy. Ella Baker, the great organizer, who worked just down the street from here, said that give people the light, shine the light, and people will find their own way. Okay? We have the people power in this state right here. We don't have to worry about fighting back bad laws because we have the will of the people behind us. Okay? We will continue to shine light. We will continue to provide opportunities for folk to volunteer. At DMNC and other organizations, you can become a nonpartisan vote protector. You can help us to monitor, to make sure that election law is being followed. You can volunteer at the election hotline, 188-R-VOTE is a hotline you can call to answer any questions that you might be having. If you're interested in volunteering, please go to dimnc.org and check out the opportunities that there are to be a part, to be an active participant in this democracy. We are not scared. We are not deterred.
That's right.
The tens of thousands of folk who are represented by the organizations behind us are ready for action for the next 100 days, okay? We will continue to collect that manna. We will continue to rewrite our democracy. We will continue to ensure that every vote is cast and every vote is counted. We will be working these next 100 days and beyond to ensure that our democracy works just like it should. And when the dust is cleared and the ballots all counted, we know that the will of the people will be spoken and we will ensure that it will be enforced. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Caitlin Swain with Forward Justice, and I get to close us out following Brian's words. So let me say this. What we are hearing from across the state of North Carolina is, get your hands off my vote. Get your hands off my vote. But as Brian just said, we are not waiting for someone to come in and reinstate the Voting Rights Act. The organizations here and hundreds of additional organizations who are not with us today are saying we will become the Voting Rights Act. The people are going to step in and ensure that the rights of the voters of North Carolina are protected in this election. 100 counties, 100 days. There is still time for this General Assembly to join us in a U-turn. There is still time for them to say, we can stop trying to restrict the right to vote of eligible voters. That is what they are trying to do. There is time for them to say, that is a bad use of my time on this earth. What I should be doing is listening to my constituents and listening to people like Marcus Bass, who reminds us of health care, the needs that our people have right now to be addressed. There is still time, but we're not going to wait on them. What I want to make sure the press knows and that the people of North Carolina know is that this is the largest election protection effort that I have ever seen in this state. It is a response to the courts leaving us in the dark. It is a response to the General Assembly neglecting their duty to the people. But it is also a response to the people the young people who are out at their colleges right now showing up at county boards of elections and saying, we want our voices heard. One person, one vote. It is so simple, but that is what we are here to protect. So please know that there are people who need you in this moment to stand up with us. And we have been in this fight for a long time in North Carolina. The eyes of the nation are on this state. The eyes of the nation are watching how we respond as there is a new attack on Black voting rights in the South, like one we have not seen in a generation. And we know that when we answer this call together with this powerful coalition and so many others who are standing with us, when we keep our eye on the prize over the next 100 days, we do not have to get ready because we are staying ready. We are ready to respond and we are ready to stand with you as you make your voice heard here in North Carolina. Thank you very much for coming out, and we're happy to take questions from any of the media. Can you all stand up with me? Let's come together. We'll just close out with a chant. Forward together.
Not one step back.
forward together.
Not one step back.
Hands off our vote.
Hands off our vote.